Wilma Rudolph, polio survivor.
Wilma Rudolph was the first American woman to win 3 gold medals in track and field in one single Olympics. She grew up with many childhood illnesses, but by overcoming them, she became a role model for athletes all over the world. By surviving polio, winning 3 gold medals in the Olympics, and never giving up, Wilma Rudolph has become a symbol of hope and has showed us what can happen when you try your hardest to never give up.
Polio has been affecting the lives of people all over the world since the early 1900s. Both forms of the virus, paralytic and non-paralytic, can have devastating effects on the body. The virus causes fatigue, loss of muscle, muscle weakness, and slow growth. Unlike non-paralytic polio, paralytic polio can paralyze its victim. There was no cure for polio until the mid-1900s when a vaccine was developed. New polio cases dropped to under 6,000 in 1957, the first year the vaccine was widely available. Polio is now rarely contracted in the United States, but is still present in other countries.
On June 23, 1940, Wilma Rudolph was born prematurely, weighing only 4.5 pounds, to her parents Ed and Blanche Rudolph in St. Bethlehem, Clarksville, Tennessee. She was the 20th child of 22. Rudolph had a hard childhood. She had many childhood illnesses, including pneumonia, chickenpox, measles, mumps, and scarlet fever. The only hospital in her town growing up was for whites only. As a result, her mother had to drive her to a hospital that was a couple hours away in Nashville, Tennessee. By the age of 5, Rudolph had contracted paralytic polio. This disease made her unable to walk for about 5 years of her life. Eventually, she was able to walk with the help of a brace on her left leg. By the age of 11, Rudolph had secretly been practicing walking without her brace, and she was getting better at it. Rudolph once said, "My doctor told me I would never walk again. My mother told me I would. I believed my mother."
Rudolph's health had improved so much that she was able to join the track and field team and play on the basketball team in high school. This was an amazing accomplishment because it was thought that she would never walk again. While attending Burt High School in Clarksville, Tennessee, Rudolph excelled in sports, especially in track and field. One of her great high school accomplishments was that she was able to compete in the East Tennessee Conference Championship. There she met Coach Ed Temple, who would later coach her in college. Coach Ed Temple died on September 22, 2016, and was inducted into the U.S. Olympic Hall of Fame.
In 1956, while Rudolph was still in high school, she competed in the Summer Olympic Games in Melbourne, Australia. She was 16, the youngest member of the U.S. track and field team at that time. She won a bronze medal for the 4x100-meter relay race. This was the start of her Olympic career.
Rudolph entered Tennessee State University in 1957 with the intention of majoring in elementary education. In college, she ran track and spent almost all of her free time running.
In the back of my mind, I always tried to work toward education, coming from this very large family and knowing that out of 22 brothers and sisters that I was the first child to have a chance to go to school. And the grandest aspect was that I could trade off my athletic ability for the scholarship.
Some of the greatest accomplishments in Rudolph's athletic career were achieved at the 1960 Olympic Games in Rome, Italy. Here she competed in the 4x100-meter relay, the 200-meter sprint, and the 100-meter sprint. Her performances in these races were outstanding and would be remembered for many years to come.
Rudolph anchored in the 4x100-meter race. She brought her team from behind to first place with a total time of 44.5 seconds. She finished first in a 200-meter sprint, well ahead of the other runners. She finished with the time of 24 seconds, a new Olympic record at that time. In her last race, the 100-meter sprint, she finished first with the time of 11 seconds.
Rudolph's performance at the 1960 Olympics in Rome brought her great fame. She had become the first American woman to win 3 gold medals in one single Olympics. People all over the world admired her and wondered how she came from possibly never being able to walk again to being an Olympic runner.
After the 1960 Olympics, Rudolph used her success to change her hometown of Clarksville, Tennessee. There was still a lot of segregation against African Americans in her hometown at that time, and Rudolph wanted to change that.
She hoped that by refusing to attend any celebrations for her that were not integrated, she could help to change her town. Her plan worked, and her homecoming parade and banquet became the first non-segregated events in her hometown. In 1963, at the peak of her career, Rudolph retired from running forever.
It was Palo Alto, California, Stanford University, Russia versus the United States. I was running well, but the heart wasn't there anymore. I mean, what do you do when you win all of it? To keep yourself motivated, you have to be a little bit hungry to be there and to stay on top. And this particular day, we were running a relay. We were behind when we started off. And you always think on a stagger start, and you know on a stagger start that, okay, she's going to catch her in the turn, and by the time the baton is passed, we're going to be even. But that didn't happen. And then when they passed it the next time, I said, well, by the time they get to the next person, we will be even, or we will be one step ahead. It didn't happen. And by the time it got to me, I saw that we were behind. And I made myself a promise that day. I said, if you catch the Russian, it's history, retire. If you do not catch the Russian, you will have to run another 4 years for the Olympics in Tokyo, Japan. I caught the Russian.
Despite retiring, Rudolph's story doesn't end there. In 1964, Rudolph graduated from college with a degree in elementary education. She went on to teach as a second-grade teacher at Cobb Elementary School, and she was asked to coach track at her former school, Burt High School. After her Olympic career, Rudolph became very passionate about helping others. She became a Goodwill ambassador to Africa, and she participated in Operation Champion, which is a program that trains young athletes from poor areas. One of her greatest accomplishments, according to Rudolph, was starting the Wilma Rudolph Foundation. The foundation is a community-based nonprofit outreach program that helps train young athletes. Today, the Wilma Rudolph Foundation continues Wilma's legacy by providing resources to assist young athletes in reaching their goals academically and professionally.
In 1983, Rudolph was voted into the U.S. Olympic Hall of Fame, and in 1994, she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame.
On November 12, 1944, tragedy struck Rudolph's life again, and she died from brain cancer at the age of 54. Rudolph will be remembered for many years to come, not just for her accomplishments, but for what they meant for future generations of women. She proved anything is possible with hard work and determination, and she paved the way for women in athletics. Rudolph's life is a story of overcoming tragedy to have a successful and triumphant life. She proved no matter how great the tragedy or misfortune may be, if you want something bad enough and put in the hard work, then you can overcome anything. Wilma Rudolph was known to her teammates by the nickname Skeeter. She is now known and remembered as the fastest woman in the world.